Okay, so this morning about approximately 8:30 a.m. we had a shooting at fire station number 9 located at 1228 27th Street North in Birmingham. 2 firefighters were seriously injured as a result of that shooting. They've been transported to a local hospital for treatment. We are on scene trying to work to see who are the individuals who are responsible for this particular shooting. That's something that we're working through right now, trying to just determine who those individuals are and what is the motivation for this particular shooting, which is information we just don't have at this point in time. So those are some of the issues that we're trying to work through right now.
What is your message for the community? Should there be a concern, a heightened concern in this area?
At this point in time, we feel like it may be a targeted attack. We don't know why it would be a targeted attack, but that's one of the things that we're trying to determine at this point in time. It's extremely unusual for someone to come target one of our fire stations, and so we're trying to see why would someone want to target one of those fire stations in Birmingham.
You said individuals. Do you believe there's more than one? Can you say how many?
Just don't know at this point in time, because it just happened just a few minutes ago or a short time ago. We're still trying to work through how many suspects were there, what's the motivation, and then of course too trying to see about the well-being of our injured firefighters as well.
Do you know how serious they are injured?
All I know is serious condition at this point.
And there's no BOLO?
Well, at this point in time, that's one of the things we're trying to gather on them. So we put out credible information instead of just information. We want to make sure it's credible information. So that's some of the things that we're working through right now, trying to get out credible information.
Are there any cameras inside that fire station or outside the fire station?
That's something that we're looking into as well.
How many people were inside working at the time?
Approximately 3.
And 2 of which?
Were injured, yes.
Was there another firefighter injured, like running?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And this happened inside the fire station?
Yes.
Do we know how they got in?
The bay door was open. They were doing their routine morning checks on the fire engine, their equipment, things of that nature. And then also, in talking to Birmingham Fire and Rescue, the stations are open for people to come up for blood pressure checks. Maybe I'm not feeling well, things of that nature. So, because they're there to care for our citizens, and so, they have to be available to, when someone comes by and needs a blood pressure check, or maybe their blood sugar's low, or they're just not feeling well. So that's not necessarily uncommon for them. So that's, and then, sometimes just people want to bring their kids by and show them the fire engine kind of thing as well.
And the time that this took place, the time?
About 8:30 a.m. this morning.
8:30. Can you believe that someone wants to target our firefighters?
I find it extremely troubling that they would be targeted. I mean, I hate to say that we would be bigger targets, but unfortunately the police would be than our firefighters. I mean, our firefighters are there to protect and aid and rescue our citizens, and to see that them be critically injured is just very troubling, disheartening that would happen in our community.
Is there any indication this was a personal issue versus somebody being targeted because they're a firefighter?
And so that's one of the issues we're looking at when we say, is there a connection? What is that connection, if there is one? We just don't know at this point in time. Is it professional? Is it personal? None of the above. Those are some things we're trying to work through and determine, because that'll help us in our investigation as we move forward.
Can you say anything about the age or the gender of the two?
I honestly don't have any of that information. They're all males. Other than that part, I don't know anything else.
What would your message be to the community? Obviously, they might think that they're in danger right now.
Well, I don't think that the community is necessarily in danger, but I think that there's maybe some individuals that could have some information on this. So we would encourage them to call us in our homicide unit at 205-254-1764. If they'd like to remain anonymous, they can call Crime Stoppers at 254-7777. We just need that information. There's probably some individuals who have some information. Please share it with us so we can hold these individuals responsible.
What time do these firefighters start their shift in the morning?
I think it's around 7:40, 8 o'clock, somewhere right around there. They should have made shift change.